Bag, I want the bag. Work my way from a garden to a track. Flip it from a track to a plot full of acres. Do it for the farmers and producers and the makers. What we even here for? Occasionally I ask it. I know it's more than struggling, anticipating the casket. Reap what we sow, trying to fill up my basket. Life's a plantation, I self-law and master. Over the plot I've been granted on this planet. Now it's slanted, cause the chosen been supplanted. But if you overstand it, it was spoken. Fractured, but we ain't broken. Even though some would rather play the role of token, we growing. Black through the essence of a presence. We carry the blood of gods, we carry the mind of peasants. Rich black gardens, future look more like Eden. Multiply seeds like the seed banks in Sweden. Rep my planners on plan according to season. B1 code, switching it up is treason. Black power, family what we eat. Either we get fed or we feed. B1AG.
What's going on? What's going on? What is going on? Welcome back to B1AG Deliberate Podcast. I'm John Henry Harris, and we also have Farmer Brown, the MC. Here at B1AG, we focus on culture, agriculture, food, and environment. Welcome to the cafe. Now, we have a interesting story today. It may, at first, I'm sure many of you may think, well, what does this have to do with us? But it does, and it has a lot to do with us because this is just one of many events, and it's starting to become a disturbing trend. And that's the story today is about 18,000 cows lost in a Texas fire. 18,000 cows lost in Texas fire. That's a lot of steaks. That's a lot of hamburgers. But I would love for y'all to please stick around because we're going to tie it all together and show how this really affects you and your family. Farmer Brown, what say you?
He who feeds you leads you. First, I'd like to say peace to the B1 family. Hope everybody's doing well, enjoying this introduction into spring. If you remember a couple of months back, there were like 2,500 head of cows in Kansas that were deleted just suddenly, almost like spontaneous combustion, and they think it might have been heat. We had reported on a few months back. Saying that to say, like you said, this is a lot of meat gone. And we tie that together with the train derailments, chemical explosions, pipeline accidents. You start to see this kindergarten game of connect the dots and how it affects our food security. So I look forward to deep diving into this cow patty.
Now, there's actually a story in by PolitiFact, and I seen this list. This was a list on a June 7th, 2022 Facebook post where it listed 95 food-destroying incidents. 95 food-destroying incidents that happened, and they were very inconspicuous incidents involving fires and destroyed poultry as well as cattle. And the incidents were so close in proximity and so just out of the realm of possibility that it started to lend to the fact that are these accidents? Are these accidents? There are 50 incidents involved where thousands of chickens or turkeys were being killed because they may have been exposed to avian influenza. And more than 15 items on this list of 95 were fires that officials said weren't suspicious. So it's a very disturbing trend, and it goes from the list starts from April 30th of 2021 through the end of 2022. So there have been, like on June 2nd, 2022, over 30,000 ducks destroyed at a duck farm. And on June 31st, just a few days before that, 3 million chickens were destroyed at an egg farm facility in Minnesota. 2 days before that, 200,000 chickens were killed in a fire in Minnesota. And there have been other numerous mysterious fires at meat processing plants, as well as chicken, chicken egg facilities, egg farms, and things of that nature. So it tends to make one just wonder: is this on purpose? Because we see about how the food inflation and they're saying shortages, but it seems like something might maybe be going on behind the scenes that will be intentionally causing these food shortages.
You remember when the nano plague first hit? A lot of workers in these facilities before the fires was catching this plague, and a lot of facilities were shutting down. You think about even recently the Ohio train derailment in New Palestine, Ohio. So that's a lot of. So I've seen some of this land. This is where the Mormons, a lot of the Mormons and the Amish do their farmland, and they're organic. They don't use a lot of the GMOs, and they've been a strong group against the incursion of GMO corporations wanting to produce. And so, because of this spill in East Palestine, you got to think when you think about your water table, all of that water is connected to all of those farms within, I would say, easily hundreds of miles radius of that location. Then you think about New Bedford, Delaware, similar spill. So this is up in the East Coast. So what you're having, and they down in deep South Louisiana, they've been calling that Cancer Alley, just because of all of the chemical waste that comes down the Mississippi River into the Delta. And so you think about all of these areas where the prime farmland is, accidentally on purpose, absolutely. All the areas where the prime farmland is just happen to be contaminated. And when you really start getting into environmental law, and so technically the government can come in, say in those areas around East Palestine and say, oh, there's a problem here. Oh, we need to fix it. You're going to have to get off of this land. And I don't have to pay you what it's worth. You have to get off because it's an emergency. And like you said, purposely, accidentally. You got to wonder, what's the end game?
In my mind, the end game is quite clear, but I don't want to spread conjecture or, be accused of fear mongering or anything like that. But when you have so many different catastrophes going on with our food system, the war in Russia and Ukraine, which is, they are responsible for like 25, 30% of the wheat production in the world, as well as, this a tanking economy in US dollar. It is really not, it doesn't look good for our economy at all. And we just want to make sure here at B1AG that a lot of these stories get swept under the rug from, these more sensationalized or popular news stories that really don't affect your life. What's really going on in real life often gets swept under the rug or bypassed. And we want to make sure that the B1AG family, we are staying ahead of the curve and doing what we need to do to make sure that we are in a good position to succeed and thrive.
You think about the structural dilapidation going on around the country, whether you're talking about your barns, your storage facilities, your factories, your warehouses. There was a parking garage in New York City that collapsed. And so a lot of the physical infrastructure is depleting. This isn't conspiracy theory or conjecture, it just is. And to fix these things, it's not that the intellect doesn't exist in manpower, but it costs money. Nobody's going to just fix these things for free. When you think about, like you said, with this dairy farm, there's other operations that are literally, and I'm watching it in real time, shutting down because the money's not there to fix some of these problems. And so, like Rahm Emanuel says, let's not let a crisis go to waste. This is the perfect opportunity when we're thinking about being on code to figure out now, okay, if my water is polluted where I'm at, what are the possible solutions to produce food where I'm at? This is where we start to think about urban gardening, container gardening, rain catchment. And somewhere like East Palestine, for example, even rain catchment might be an issue. So is this a thing where, okay, if a lot of them people had networks with rural farmers? We reach out on social media for so many things, right? We can connect with people on the other side of the planet when it's something ratchet, when it's something funny, when it's something serious. How many different people can you call that has a well? just in case where you're at happens to have a chemical spill accidentally, whether accidentally on purpose or accidentally just because of human error or infrastructure or building breakdown. So how many people with water do you have on deck? Okay, your cows blow up. Maybe you're in the business of selling meat. That's a huge loss. So each one of them cattle, you're going to say at least 1,100 a head, and that's being conservative. Somebody lost a lot of money. Not to mention, there's other businesses that got paid to dress the cattle. Other businesses, I don't know if they were meat or dairy cows. Other businesses are affected when a single incident like that happens. And so if I was a so-called enemy of the West watching this, I would realize like, ooh, when I knock out these 18 cows, I'm knocking out X amount of tens of thousands of people's meals or business. And so when we think about what do they say, money is power and it's a weapon of war, going at people's food security is one of the best ways to stifle your enemy, whether you're on the winner side or the loser side. Once again, here at B1AG, we want to have the conversation of use these as excuses to get black to the garden, to start, if you haven't started, getting started with just learning how these systems work. You might not ever need it, but it's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. But I think all of these incidents are connecting dots to, hey, let's get black to it.
And just to give a little context to how massive 18,000 losing 18,000 head of cattle. This fire happened at the South Fork Dairy Farm near Dimmitt, Texas. Now, those 18,000 cows that perished, that equated to about 20% of the cattle slaughtered in America on any given day. Think about that. 20% of that 20% of the number of cattle slaughtered on America on any given day was just lost in that one area. And this is not even counting all the other incidents that happened at cat dairy farms and meat packing processing plants and things of that nature. Our food system is taking huge blows over the last 2 years.
Did you mention the viruses, the bird flus, the avian flus?
I did mention the avian influenza or bird flu. That took out millions of turkeys and chickens. Millions.
An unprecedented problem that we're running into, and this has actually been years ago. And so, you treat your animals with antibiotics, different medicines, justifiably so for the consumer. When they're in these confined areas, the chickens are just pecking each other to death. When they're confined, the cows are, walking over each other's excrement. And so saying that to say, there's starting to be antibiotic resistant strains of these viruses within these animal communities just because of anytime you overdo something, you're going to have certain problems. So if you think about that with animals, you think about STDs with humans. After a while, once something has grown so much, you no longer have the ability to even vaccinate against it. A lot of animals, you want to stay up on your vaccination, but what's happening, I've even heard the nano idea being given with these animals. But either way, once again, this is a perfect opportunity for us as individuals to really evaluate how deeply entrenched we are within the food system, at least knowledge of it. It's better to know something and apply it, but even just knowing, okay, what if I'm not really with these cows having nano or whatever swimming through them? Do I have a network of people that do raise livestock organically? Do I know how to raise livestock on my own? Do I know some local chefs that can prepare great plant-based foods if I'm in a situation where I can't eat the meat that I would like? These are all basic things that all of us can do, whether we're living in a city, an urban area, or rural area. From my modest vantage point, it looks like the urban areas are taking a hit right now. And so when we think about this concept of small scale localized food production, just like we know how to get our subscriptions online, to our favorite videos and things of that nature, we have to have CSA subscriptions. We have to have, each of us has to have a Rolodex of producers, of food distributors, not just rely on stores, because we see through these stories we're talking about how frail the system is.
And we need to do our best, be diligent in fighting against that frailty. We have to make sure that we can eat. We all got to eat. It's many people's goal to eat every day. A lot of times more than once a day. It's a need that for every animal and a man on this planet. We have to eat or you perish. So one thing you could also do, we definitely encourage you to do, is to find a black farmer near you. Here is the URL it offers the most comprehensive list of black farmers that I've been able to find on the internet. And this goes from state to state. So if you have to pause this video on the replay and copy it, please do. But here is the URL to find a black farmer near you. It's very important. But also, what is also important is you gaining, reclaiming that knowledge of how to grow for yourself. How to grow for yourself. Even if you don't grow all of your food, let's start practicing and exhibiting that knowledge of how to grow food. Because during these days and times, what we see is it's a lot going on. Anything that will help you survive. These are all survival skills. They are very important at this point in time. Being that America has been so rich for so long, and we've been very privileged in this country. We've kind of taken a back seat to these survival skills and just been able to pay for these services. But let's get back to being able to be able to accomplish these services and sustain our own life for ourselves. Just look towards sustainability, period. A more sustainable life. And when I say sustainable, we're talking about the ability to be maintained at a certain rate or level, avoidance of the depletion of natural resources in order to maintain an ecological balance. Now, because of technology as well as ancient knowledge, you can merge the two to where you're not missing anything. You're not losing or degrading or stepping down your lifestyle at all. You're just doing things in a way that saves and doesn't deplete. And it's also a lot cheaper, honestly. Once you get these sustainable systems set up, it saves your pockets. And that money that you save can be used elsewhere. And in the near future, that's another thing I would like to bring to the table is more economics, because economically this country is going to be challenged, and there are things that we're going to have to do to tighten up our wallets, tighten up our spending, be more intentful with our spending if we want to maintain a healthy lifestyle. So, Farmer Brown, you got any last words about these cows?
Growing up like B12, you have to laugh to not cry about what's happening with the food system. But once again, this is a huge opportunity and the best excuse in the world to get back to what we know, back to our essence as the producers. Consumerism is coming to an end very soon at a store near you. Are you getting in the mindset of a producer?
And there it is. Everybody, we're watching. Hey, we need to get our subscription. We need to get our subscribers up. We need to get to a point where we can monetize and bring this news to you more efficiently. And we have a lot of ideas that we would like to really help increase our just interaction amongst each other, especially amongst our viewers. We hope this would be a networking hub of people that really can come here and trade ideas and exchange what they're growing. And we really want to start highlighting some of these athletes, some of these farmers and gardeners across this country, across this globe, that are really walking it out when it comes to producing their own food. Hopefully we can inspire each other. How many pounds of food can you grow on your land? Okay, you're in an apartment. How many pounds of food can you produce on your steps in your small space? These are things that can help save us down the line. And if anything, it's increase your knowledge, and shoot, it's gonna help save you some money, and also and increase your health regardless. Because eating organically, eating real food, eating that food that's coming from the dirt, getting in that dirt, there's so many health, mental, and there's sociological benefits when it comes to gardening and farming. These are, scientifically proven. It even helps community. It helps cohesiveness amongst the family. So everybody, like, share, and subscribe. B1AG Daily Bread Podcast. Like, share, and subscribe. B1AG Daily Bread Podcast. This is the cafe. And at the end of the day, Farmer Brown, if the people really want to know something, what do they need to do, bro?
If you really want to know something, let's get back to it. Learn how to grow something.
We'd like to thank y'all for having a seat at the cafe today. This is John Henry Harris, and we also have Farmer Brown, the MC. Peace.